I'm back with another update. So, first thing I want to talk about is track weathering. I did some weathering of the track. I used Monroe weathering powders. They're weathering powder kit. There's two kits. I recommend getting both because you get some nice variation with them. You get different blacks. And I kind of did a mix of some different brown tones to get this kind of look. And that matched pretty good with photos I had of rails over in Plant City on CSX. So this is kind of just to give you a taste of what it looks like finished. I glued it down using my usual glue mix, and it came out pretty good. I would say that don't be afraid to go heavy on it when you're putting the powders on at first, because when you put the glue on, it's really going to dial it back a little bit, and it's not going to look as extreme as you think it's going to turn out to be at the end. Another thing that I worked on is I was working on picking some spots for trees over in this open area. I kind of plan on this being a sort of like grazing field for cattle. And so these are kind of the spots that I came up with for trees. I might add some more, I'm not sure. But I also added some ground foam. I used Woodland Scenics grass. I used the burnt grass near the railroad tracks to kind of simulate weed killer effects on the field. And then I kind of did a mix of burnt grass and green grass to get what I think is a pretty natural looking grass. And I also figured out that when you soak the ground foam, it kind of turns it into this darker color. But if you put some glue on top and just sprinkle some fresh ground foam, you get this kind of color variation, and it makes it a little bit more realistic. I also added some more bushes along the track here. I'm getting closer to being finally having a fully scenic module. It's taken a lot longer than I thought it would. But I'm really going for that typical Florida, like super overgrown right of way that you see a lot in like central Florida, with like really lush bushes and trees. That's kind of what I'm going for. So yeah, that's really it. Layout wise, I also added some bushes right here at the split. I think I'll probably add some trees right around here. And it's looking pretty good. I also recently acquired a CSX Es44ah from my local hobby shop, which is Zitnik Trains in Pinellas Park. They're a fabulous hobby shop. If you're ever in the area, definitely check them out. They have some really great deals. I got this one just DC. It was $65. Pretty good deal. The only thing wrong with it really was didn't have a snow plow. So I ordered a snow plow from Cado Direct parts, and then also the previous owner had long shank couplers on it, so I changed those out with the short ones. Let me see if I can get you to see it a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so got the snow plow and shorter coupler, and give you a shot of the back. Let me turn the back light on. There we go. So yeah, so this was just DC when I got it. All I did was I put a simple Digitrax drop-in decoder. In my freight trains, I really like them most of the time just No sound, just simple DCC, especially if I plan on doing operations with them. Because when you're going over switches, and especially the switches at the club that I'm a member of, you tend to short out a lot or lose power. So it's annoying to have a sound locomotive because it has to start back up again and you gotta wait for it to be ready to move. And you could be holding up everyone else by waiting for your locomotive to start up. So I just like to do no sound for operations. If I have a sound unit, I'll just mute it, because that works too. So here's some of the roof details. Pretty good actually. I especially like the antenna setup on the roof. I actually like this roof a little bit more than my scale train's rivet counter. Freight diesel. Here's a shot at the trucks. Trucks are pretty good. They have a good level of detail, I have to say. But, when you're getting a Kato and then you're really getting it for reliability, strength, and pulling cars, this thing can pull a lot. And you care a little bit less about fine little details. And sometimes I like that in an N-scale locomotive, especially if I know I'm going to be manhandling it a lot, like taking it in and out of the box. Like these types of locomotives are great for bringing to a club. I just wanted to show you guys the decoder that I put in, installed on the model. Really simple. One thing I definitely highly recommend that I saw in lots of videos, and it makes sense to me, is use plenty of Kapton tape. Most Digitrax decoders come with some. Just kind of put it anywhere where the decoder is touching bare metal, especially on the bottom. And that's what I did, and it didn't interfere at all with pickups. Some decoders do have like pickups on the bottom, so you just don't want to put the Kapton tape there where you want it to make contact. Like in my Genesis N-scale locomotive, it has contact on the bottom of the decoder. But this one uses these clips that attach to little brass strips, and they provide power for the motor. And this is probably the easiest DCC install you can do, second from maybe the Kato steam engines where you just slide in the chip. I mean, this one is kind of like that. You just have to be a little bit careful with getting the front right under in there just right, and also making sure that the decoder sides in this back, let me see if I can get the camera to focus, in these clips, in these spots right here. But it runs great. I like it. I can run it fine with my scale trains unit, which has an ESU motor only decoder. And I like it a lot. It's a good purchase. Also, I have some tips if you want to change out the couplers in your Kato diesel. What you have to do is you have to take this little spring out. It just slides right out, pretty easy. And then you have to, there's some tabs that hold this piece of plastic in. I just use a little flat-headed screwdriver like this to get in there and kind of pry a little bit, and then it pops out pretty easy. Just like with any N-scale locomotive, if you feel like you have to put a lot of force behind it, you're probably doing something wrong. I have snapped a body shell trying to get it off and applying too much force. So you don't want to do that. You want to just take it nice and easy. It can be a little frustrating getting the coupler to go through the hole and making sure nothing falls apart. I dropped my little tiny couplers a bunch of times, but I think that it's worth it to get the coupler length the way you want it. One thing that I have to say though, if you put the long shank couplers in, you really can't expect to be able to do any shove moves without your cars derailing constantly. I mean, that's why I put the effort into putting these short couplers in. And then, of course, the other reason is aesthetics. I mean, that just looks a lot more realistic than a coupler that's going out a bunch. But if you run very tight radius track, then you really do need the long coupler. I might recommend just putting the long one on the back, because then the front can still look nice.